defendant pled guilty to count 1 of the indictment, possession of cocaine, felony of the 5th degree in violation of revised code, section 2925.11, with an attached forfeiture specification, and count 4, domestic violence, misdemeanor of the 1st degree in violation of revised code, section 2919.25A. The defendant was found guilty, and the court ordered a pre-sentence report, victim impact statement, and a drug and alcohol evaluation. The state has had the opportunity to review those reports and is prepared to proceed with sentencing. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Springer.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense has likewise had the opportunity to review the reports in this matter and is prepared to proceed with sentencing today. Mr. Poole would ask the court to place him on a term of community control, and we have provided an email from Stella Maris Local Treatment Center, which has a bed available for residential treatment beginning in a few days here on November 20th. So that is something that he did work with the social worker in our office to try to coordinate, because he is very interested in completing substance abuse treatment. It is obviously something that he has been struggling with for quite some time. I think the court can see that based on some of the convictions that he has had recently. The substance use fueled a lot of the issues that he was having in his relationship, and he wants to get back on track to being able to live a law-abiding life where he had a condo to live in and, you know, was able to work more stably and not living on the streets. This is his first felony conviction, and I think he has 40 days jail time credit we'd ask that the court give as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Poole, what do you want to tell me before I impose sentence?
Your Honor, I wrote you a letter that, if I'm allowed, I will read for you right now.
Go ahead.
It says, "To the Honorable Judge O'Donnell, I'm writing you in an attempt to plead my case. It's always best to think things out instead of to do it on the spot, which is my reason for the letter, as I just mentioned. Several of my family members have wrote you letters asking for drug treatment. It's been a problem in my life for a long time. The Lake House helped me kick my first substance issue of synthetic marijuana, which I've been clean from for almost 7 years. My only major vice now would be to get rid of my cocaine habit. But since then, my father has lymphoma that has come out of remission. I'm asking for you to grant me some leniency in the form of probation and Stella Maris. This is my first time in felony court, and I'm nervous and worried. I have also completed probation in Willoughby with Tracy Olick and in Painesville with Jamie Crook, and usually excel whilst I'm on paper with the right guidelines. My father has a individual at Stella Maris that, with the help of Aaron, T.J. Weinman's replacement, has arranged a bed for me reserved for November 20th. If I could perhaps maybe be released today to spend the next 5 days with my father and my family, I would be extremely grateful. Cancer and other ailments have taken both my grandfathers, and if my father died while incarcerated or getting treatment, I'm sure it would hurt even worse if I didn't at least try and get some time with him first. I understand that only your verdict goes at the end of the day. I also have spent around 40 days incarcerated in total since the beginning of all this in December of last year. In addition to this, I would also like to say that me and Mariah have stopped seeing each other, so this will not reoccur. I was honest when given my PSI, as honest as I could be, and had told the staff of my recent relapse, but I have spent most of this past year sober. Thank you for letting me read this and for the court's time. No matter what your ruling is, I will move forward with positivity and an open mind. Thank you.
When did you get arrested? In October? When in October?
October 18th.
Okay, why did you get arrested?
Joe and Mariah, my buddy, got into an argument, and they were just really drunk, and the Painesville police showed up to talk to them, and they just arrested me.
For?
Due to bond revocation.
Okay. What was it revoked for?
I had dirty urine for marijuana and for cocaine, and they said there was fentanyl in there as well, which I didn't have any idea about. I'm going to guess it was in the coke, because I'm extremely against heroin use, so that's what began all this.
Okay. So why were you doing that when you were out on this case?
I find, one of my first sponsors told me there's very seldom recovery without relapse. It's
Okay, at
a
some
bad thing.
point, there has to be recovery
But,
without relapse, or we're all in deep shit, right? Okay,
absolutely.
because then what's the point to any of this stuff?
I stand accountable for my actions.
Right. So, I get a little tired of hearing there's no recovery without relapse, okay? Guy that was in here this morning that I had on probation had 4 instances of relapse during his 1 period of probation, okay? So, where did you get the marijuana and the cocaine from when you were out on bond that you tested positive for?
It was at Joe's house,
Joe who?
Joe Blair.
Joe gave it to you?
Yeah,
Why you hanging around Joe?
I'm not anymore.
And why were you then?
There was just a place to go. Like I said, I just wanna get life back on track. I would go over there to charge our cell phones and stuff, but, you know, that's not sober people, places, and things like AA taught me.
So, where were you living? Wherever you could?
We had tied a tent in the woods, Your Honor.
Okay. When's the last time you lived at a stable residence?
3 months ago,
Where?
we lived on Ivan Road off of 222nd with Mariah's, friends, D'Angelo and Rachel.
Okay.
But my father.
What have you been doing for the last 12 years? You're gonna be 30. What have you been doing for the last 12 years?
Coming up and down, just up and down. But I'd like the cycle to stop. The cocaine's the last drug issue that I have. The Lake House helped me get sober from synthetic marijuana permanently. And we would have to check the date on that, but it's been well over 5 years now since I went and did the program at the Lake House. And I hear Stella Maris is just as good as a program, and I choose that place because
Well, how
close
many,
to my
how
dad's
many
house.
different places you been for treatment?
None. Lake House.
Okay, so 1.
Yes.
And you completed it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was the program like? Explain the program to me.
It was great. It consisted of drug group therapy, and then you went out and they actually took you out to AA meetings every single day, which gave me the power to establish the support group, which I didn't even know that I needed at the time in order to stay clean. You know, everyone I knew did drugs back then, and it was hard for me to ditch all of my friends without replacing them with sober friends, and I just didn't have the social skills to go and do it on my own, so Lake House enabled me to do that. And they basically handed me all the tools I needed to kick that specific habit. That cocaine wasn't an issue yet.
Well, what's the difference between a cocaine habit and a synthetic marijuana habit?
There's none.
Okay? So why didn't the tools transfer to the cocaine?
I didn't apply them.
Well, why not?
I've been in bad spots and stuff, but it's time I use
What do you
my-
mean bad spots? What does that mean?
Like living in the tent and stuff like that. It's not living in Painesville on the streets, the drugs are everywhere and stuff like that. You know, it's not an excuse, it's just the way it is down there. And so it's hard when you're literally surrounded on all sides by temptation. But
Well-
my dad said if I can go to Stella Maris and stuff, he'll let me move back in the house, which is a big thing for me, because that's Willowick, it's a lot different, and I haven't even received that chance in years.
Well, you'd be surprised to know that there's drugs in Willowick, and there's drugs in Eastlake, and there's drugs in Wickliffe, and Willoughby, and Menor, right?
Yeah, I'd have to seek them out though, as I don't know the people down there that I know down here.
Why don't you just do what everybody else does and go over to the BP station on 185th and Neff? That's what everybody else does.
I'm not actively seeking to ruin my life any further.
So, what good does any program do if you don't utilize what you learned? Why do you have to go to Stella Maris if they're gonna teach you how to get into situations and not fall into drugs again like Lake House did? What's the point?
I don't have to go to Stella Maris, I could go.
Or
to-
anywhere.
I could attend AA meetings on my own. If I was somewhere where I could get to them, or, you know, back at my dad's house, he could take me. I don't even know an AA meeting schedule around here, and the people I know certainly don't have one, you know.
I bet it would take you, if you wanted to, about 90 seconds to find a schedule.
Very true.
The problem is not the treatment, the problem is the person. Okay? What's the last job you worked?
Easy Line demo, I had it, my boss gave me up until the 1st to straighten things out. I told him I'm in jail till I'm sentenced on the 15th, and that's not the way things work. So, I could possibly get
What were you
my,
doing?
demolition and, house remodeling.
Okay. What tools do you use for the demolition?
Sledgehammer, sometimes we'll patch walls, we'll do tuck pointing and regrout walls and stuff like that, but
How do you do that if you're high?
I don't use drugs at work.
Then why don't you, then, if you have the discipline to not use drugs at work, why don't you have the discipline to not use drugs after work?
Well, and I hate to call it a head start, but being in jail for 30 days is all the head start I need to get the clear mind again, to have the faith in myself.
Okay,
to
but
continue
even
on
when you
staying
didn't
sober.
have a clear mind, okay? You had from what you're telling me right now, you had the discipline not to use drugs while you were working.
Yeah,
So why didn't you continue that while you're not working? The answer is because you didn't want to. That's the answer. So that's a you problem, it's not a drug problem. So am I to believe now that after how many years you've been using drugs? 20?
less than that. Yes,
15?
something has to change eventually, yes,
Oh, yeah, you have to change.
absolutely.
Okay?
I already know I have it within myself to change, I just need the chance. And I feel like I have a decent
Well,
one being able
here,
to live with my father's again.
these are all, this is all buzzword bullshit is what it is, you know, because you were out on bond, and you knew that you couldn't use drugs when you were out on bond. And you know how long marijuana stays in your system, right?
Mhm.
And so you knew you were gonna get caught, but you did it anyway.
Right.
So you had a chance, right? And you blew the chance. I'm having a hard time here figuring out what's different now from then. Other than you're here now, I'm about to do something, and you want it to be as little as possible, right? Other than that, what's different now from then?
The people I'm gonna surround myself with when I leave here.
But
Being at my
See-
father's house is a very big deal to me, and I don't wanna blow that chance. Aside from the chance the court has given me, that's a altogether chance that I never even thought I'd receive again.
what?
Being at my father's house, being allowed back there, that means a lot to me. And my father does not tolerate any, nothing. So there'd be a very thin line to walk there.
When's the last time you lived with your father?
Gosh, almost a decade ago.
When you were in, high school, or was it that, what was the name of the place? Lake Academy, was it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when you were going there, did you live with him?
Off and on, yeah.
You were using drugs then all the time, right?
yeah, my mother was around, and they spent more of their time fighting, and then they'd both go to work, and like I said, off and on, I'd hide down the street at my buddy's house for days on end.
So what's the story with you and this Mariah?
It was just, you know, we love each other, but it's just the relationship became too toxic. And see, I know I could see my actions. I know what I've done wrong. She refuses to see her wrong in the situation, and then I just got tired of it. I've kind of been tired of it, is what I realized. And she talks about freedom and stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm the one sitting in jail, and she's just, and it's probably funny coming from me, but I just found it all just too immature, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. So we decided to go separate ways, which hurts. But you know, I've had enough toxic relationships. It was only dragging me down. You know, when I met this girl, I had an apartment, I had a car, I had more. And my quality of life
So
was
why
better.
don't you now?
And I'm not, because, you know, I was hanging around a girl that I was having fun with, and I decided to start doing drugs, and it always starts as fun, but, you know, it never ends as fun. Here we are sitting in a felony courtroom.
Well, how
for the
long ago
first
was
time.
that?
A year. It took a year and 2 months to bring me to this level.
Okay. So you've been doing drugs for a long time. Never got you anywhere, right? Never got you a goddamn thing, did it? Right. So you say you got an apartment, you got a car, you got a job. Were you not doing drugs at the time?
No, I'll be honest. I was smoking weed and I was drinking,
Okay.
which, yes, they're mind-altering chemicals. I'm very well aware of, but it does not compare to heroin addiction or crack cocaine addiction or anything like that.
Addiction's addiction, isn't it?
True, but it depends on the amount of moderation and how far you go with it.
Ah, see,
There's not people that I know are
There's-
stealing stuff and selling it for weed, or you
yeah.
know, selling stuff for alcohol. Maybe there is, but not people that I know, not me.
So you're one of those guys
Like
that stays clean for a while and then figures they could, you know, smoke a little pot, take a couple of hits, and then they'll be okay, and then all of a sudden, they're here.
No, nothing like
No?
that. It's
You
the people
sound like one of those guys.
It's the people I surround myself with, and maybe it's because of the pot or the alcohol, but it's
Maybe.
usually the people.
Maybe.
If I knew what it was, I wouldn't be here.
I know what it is. Goddamn drugs is what it is. That's what it is. Now, who do you hang around with? What's that guy's name?
Joe Blair.
Maybe he's somewhere saying you're one of those guys that he shouldn't be hanging around with. Did you ever think that maybe you're one of those guys?
Doubtful.
Doubtful?
Doubtful.
Shoot, boy.
Joe's never had a job. He doesn't work. He lives in one of those free apartments. He does. Maybe
Well,
he's saying
you
that,
know,
but he would be wrong.
I hate to break the bad news to you, Justin, but you're living in a tent.
All right.
Okay? It sounds to me like you're one of those guys, you've been one of those guys, who people shouldn't be hanging around with. But you don't seem to think you're one of those guys. I mean, this conversation directs me to the point where I don't think you have the slightest clue about your situation. Because you talk about how Lake House got you off of synthetic marijuana. Then you just switched over to the real stuff. And that was okay because it wasn't the synthetic. But let's assume you kicked the habit on the synthetic. Now you got a habit involving marijuana and cocaine, so what's the point? You seem to think you won a battle there. And all you did was substitute what you were doing for something else. What's the point? If that was such a great thing, you wouldn't be sitting here with a felony in cuffs, if that was such a great thing. So why were you batting around Mariah?
I had never Narcaned someone in my life until I met Mariah. That week, I had Narcaned her 4 times, and sometimes people just get sick of things, so I decided to take her heroin. It had killed my best friend Ricky months before that, and I just couldn't, her daughter and her grandmother are in the next room over. She dies, and I'm supposed to just walk out there and tell them that she's dead? Yes, I shouldn't have been watching her do it or letting her do it in the first place, but I mean, this is a toxic relationship. I was not batting around Mariah, and that hurts to say. I loved her. I took her heroin and her drugs and my drugs and tried to lock them in the glove box of my car, and she lost her mind. And I'm sure there's body cam footage of it. She did a number on me as well. She shattered a mirror over my back and cut me with glass. And the whole time, and you could even see in the body cam probably the totes in the middle of the living room and stuff. I was trying to leave. I was literally trying to leave. I didn't know her grandmother had called the police. I was going to lock the drugs in my glove box and lock the car thing. If she broke into the car, then I could call the police and have a valid I don't want to do that to her. She's a great girl. I've known her since she was 12 years old, and I know she's better than that.
So, was she high that night?
She was high for 3 days, Your Honor. There's a whole side of the story.
And then you were high, right, when the cops got there?
No.
You weren't?
Absolutely not. I believe this body cam footage is saying that I had not been high and was not high, no.
So the cop says Justin appeared to be under the influence of something. I later told officers that he used cocaine around 6 p.m.
Hours before that.
As he was sweaty and not making very much sense while speaking.
Yeah.
So you weren't high?
When was the arrest? That was at midnight. That was hours before then. I'm not saying I was not high. Not when the arrest was made. A cocaine high is 30 minutes, Your Honor. That's...
No, I don't know. I don't know that.
That's what I'm saying. So that was hours before that. No, I was literally not fighting for my life, but I had been being attacked for 2-3 hours. And at that point, I was just packing my stuff. I was trying to leave. My dad's house is, less than a mile away from there, and I still owned a car at that point, so.
That powder that you had that they found when you were arrested, where'd you get that? Did you get that from that knucklehead or what?
No.
Where'd you get that from?
That's from Mo, and I've already helped LCNA do a controlled buy on him before.
Who's
And-
Mo?
Just some guy that lived, I'm not in contact with him anymore, but, like I said, I tried to even help bust the dude, 'cause, you know, I'm
Well-
against heroin use.
Then why were you getting fentanyl?
I don't
And
know.
heroin.
I don't know what's in these drugs. Those were Mariah's. I understand the laws of possession, that they were in my possession when I was busted with them. But Willard Police pulled up, they put the spotlight on me. They said, put what's in your hand on the hood of the car. I was locking it in the glove box so she couldn't literally continue to kill herself in front of me. Like,
So you didn't really do anything here.
that is not what I
I
said.
mean, you got domestic, that
I had
really
possession.
she was committing domestic on you.
I
And
asked
you didn't
for-
really possess drugs because while they were in your car, they were hers.
No, they were in my hand. They never made it to the car. And possession of cocaine is my charge. Those were my drugs. The heroin, no. I've never been a heroin user. That's why I was surprised and let down when Cynthia Henley told me that I failed for fentanyl. I was aghast. I didn't
What
even know
do you
to
mean
say.
you were aghast?
I didn't even know what to say.
Well, when you got the cocaine from your buddy, did he give it his good seal of approval that this is cocaine from Colombia only?
Well, no, but you don't know.
Oh, how could you not know that fentanyl's in whatever drug comes off the street? How could you not know that at this point?
Because you should be falling asleep or something, or dead, the way that,
How did you know when you bought the cocaine from that slouch that there wasn't something else in it?
I didn't.
Then why did you do it if you didn't know? If you're so against this shit, why did you do it?
Suppose I like to think you could trust people, but I suppose you shouldn't.
Well, why would you trust him? You don't know where the hell he gets it from.
You're right.
I mean, they've only been dropping like flies for the past decade. People smoking marijuana are keeling over from fentanyl. But I'm sure now that the government's taking control, it'll be much better, much better. At least you'll be able to smoke pot now because it's legal, right?
Not me.
Not you,
No.
not anybody around here. You've been in jail for how long?
So the 18th till now, so about 30 days.
Who are you hanging around with over there in the last 30 days?
No one. I'm still down in I had a fractured metacarpal in my hand. I'm still down in the medical pod.
All right, Ms. Hronik.
Thank you, Your Honor. While the defendant does have a history of several misdemeanors over the last 10 years or so, as well as his juvenile record, is his first felony. The state is going to recommend, or request community control. It's going to join with the probation department's recommendations for 60 additional days in jail, NeoCap, Lake House or Concord Pines, sober living, you know, basically everything that can be given to the defendant, the state's gonna ask for at this time. I do want to, just for the record, point out that I did view the body cam when the defendant was arrested. He did appear to be under the influence. It was December 30th at midnight, and he was shirtless and dripping sweat. His speech was near unintelligible at times. When the police officers attempted to detain him, he kept reaching into his pocket. They continued to tell him to stop reaching into his pocket. He eventually reached in, grabbed what was later found to be the drugs, and threw them onto the ground. So I just, for the record, want to make that clear.
Is
I
that
also-
true?
I recall handing them right to the officer. I was trying to reach into, because they want you to put your hands behind your back immediately. I was trying to put my hands in my pocket to give them to him. So yes, sweaty? Yes. Shirtless? Yes. Unintelligible? No. I hadn't done drugs for hours, and I believe I handed them right to the cop, or if I put them on the ground, he probably told me to
He
put
did
them on
not
the ground.
hand them directly to the cop. I'm happy to provide the court with the body camera footage. I also would like to point out for the record, in his pre-sentence report, the defendant stated that he's very upset that the police report states that he put Mariah in a chokehold or a stranglehold. However, in the body camera footage, he did say to Officer Flapnicker, and I quote, "I punched the shit out of her, I put her in a chokehold." So just for the record, I want to make that clear. But based on...
You didn't say that?
No, I can't,
Did-
I can't recall. It was too long ago.
Well, you were shaking your head no, but you didn't do that.
It's 'cause I'm disappointed.
Based on the defendant's drug addiction and the fact that he does have no felonies, the state is going to request community control and join with probation department's additional recommendations. Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Springer?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I've reviewed the pre-sentence report, the drug and alcohol evaluation, and the letters I received on your behalf. Listen to what you have to say, what counsel has had to say. And I've considered all provisions in 29, 29, 11, 29, 29, 12, and 29, 29, 13. Place you on community control for 5 years. You're gonna serve 85 days in Lake County Jail. Credit for 40. The last 30 of the remaining days, you're gonna go on the jail treatment program. You're gonna complete that program and follow all recommendations. After you complete jail treatment, you're gonna go to NeoCap, you're gonna complete that program and follow those recommendations. You get a mental health evaluation, follow those recommendations. No drugs or alcohol, and you'll be tested. You're to see only one doctor and one dentist, and one pharmacy for any prescription medication. If you are prescribed any medication, you're to take it only as prescribed. You're gonna sign releases so probation can get your records. When's the last time you had a driver's license?
I don't know.
You don't know? You're gonna get a valid driver's license. You're gonna obtain and maintain full employment. What's Mariah's last name?
Walzak.
Walzak, Your Honor.
No contact with Mariah Walzak. You're gonna pay the cost and supervision fees. Ms. Canals, any other terms?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You understand the terms? If you don't comply, then the state will file a motion to terminate your community control. If I find you violate, and I'll terminate you, and you'll do 12 months in prison. You understand that?
Yep.
If that happens, when you get out, you might be on post-release control for up to 2 years under the parole authority with conditions. If you violate the conditions, the parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If the violation's a new felony, you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for that violation, the maximum of which would be the greater of 12 months at the time you have left under post-release control. Anything else, Ms. Horonic?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Springer?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we're adjourned.
number 04CR000163. The defendant is present in court with defense counsel Jamie Eck on September 11th, 2023. Defendant filed a motion to seal the record of her conviction and arrest, and we are prepared to proceed on that hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Eck?
Thank you, Your Honor. We did file a motion to have the record sealed in this matter. My client lives in Mentor-on-the-Lake. She is living a law-abiding life. She is a recent graduate from the mental health court in Mentor, where I had the honor of actually representing her while she was in that program and watched her successfully complete that and take some very positive steps for herself while in that program. The conviction that is out of this court is back from the early 2000s. She did have some cases that were the same out of Mentor that were back from 99, 2000. Those have been sealed, and then there are a couple of a couple of closed cases, I think from the 90s, that are in Willoughby that we will also be looking to have sealed after this case is hopefully resolved. The reason why this is so important to her at this time is that she really would like to get a job as a crossing guard. And in order to do that, she knows that this is something that they're going to look at to see if there's a felony on her record. So it has kind of been something that I think we started talking about maybe in like February or so, that we wanted to make sure to put her on the right path so that it gave her that opportunity. Her grandchildren are a focal point in her life. I take it from that she likes to be around children and feels that being a part-time cross guard would kind of fit into her lifestyle, and having this sealed would give her that opportunity.
So there's 3 Mentors you sealed, with 2 Willoughbys left, is that right?
There were a few cases out of Mentor, including the mental health court case. There's 2 cases left, I think, in Willoughby, misdemeanors, obviously, and then this case.
What was the most recent Mentor one? How old is that one? Because all I have in here is the Mentors is 99-02-03.
I'm not sure, I think it was 21. I don't know that I have it with me. Do you remember, was that
I would
in
say that would be
21?
right.
She would have had to have done 2 years in the
What
mental
was
health
that?
court.
What kind of case was that?
Was that a theft?
Petty theft.
A theft.
Okay.
That was that case.
It was in October of, or no, there was one that was dismissed that was in October of 12. That would have been
So this would have been after
that.
I believe it was 21.
Okay.
The way that mental health court works, they have to do 2 full years, and even at that point, graduation isn't necessarily guaranteed. They can be terminated, they can be just, I guess, released from the program, not necessarily negatively terminated, or they can be successfully graduated, and my client was actually successfully graduated from. So she completed the minimum of 2 years.
All right, Ms. Hudson, what do you want to tell me?
I'd just like to have this off my record so I can get that job I'm looking for.
What do you remember about Judge Mitrovich? You can be honest, he's not here.
Mean.
Well, you made it through that, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Where do you currently live?
Mentor-on-the-Lake.
Is that what you're gonna do? You wanna be work in the Mentor schools? Is that your?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ms. Haranik?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state is not opposed to the defendant's motion.
Okay. All right, you're eligible under the statute, so I will grant your motion and seal your record. You're gonna need to go and get fingerprints. Did you give her a map?
I did, so.
Okay. Bob's gonna give you a map, show you where to go. It's within walking distance, and come over and bring what they give you to the office here, and then Ms. Haranik will prepare the entries and get them, judgment entries, get them to the right agency, so they'll seal your record and you'll be good to go.
Thank
Okay?
you.
All right, anything else?
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, good luck, Ms. Hudson.
Thank you.